Today, we're going to make smoked no-boil macaroni and cheese in the Masterbuilt MPS 230S Propane Smoker. Now, basically, this is a modified crock-pot recipe. So if you have a crock-pot recipe that you love, but you want to add smoke to it, put it in your smoker and be happy. Now, when you think about that, think about a conversion of a crock pot on high will run about 325 in your smoker. So that's kind of where you want to start in your mind for your times and your temperatures and go from there. First thing we need to do is we need to get the smoker lit and preheated. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the tank. And then I'll open the door and get it lit, and then we'll lower the temperature to where we want it. I'm gonna go about there and let it roll while we're getting everything else going. Now today I'm not gonna use the cast iron pan that I normally use for the wood chips, because I'm gonna use the pellet tray, which I've already pre-lit and have off to the side going nice and good. But we're not gonna kill it with the smoke because this is only a couple of hour cook. So we don't need to hit it with the smoke too hard. Plus I'm adding double smoked bacon, and that'll be plenty of smoke for my wife. So let's not overdo it and get in trouble. Now we'll go ahead and open this up and check it out. Now the last time I used it was yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to clean it out, but that's good enough right there. We just need a space to put in the pellet tray, and we need the foil pan, not to catch drippings for this recipe, but more so to prevent the smoke from going directly into the pan. We want it to kind of disperse and spread around. So that kind of diffuses the smoke a little bit. Now we're going to go ahead and let that run while we get everything else going. I'll be right back. So today I decided I was going to use a small table, and maybe that wasn't the best day to do that. But anyway, here it is. And first, we'll start with the pan. Now, this is just a regular 9x9 cake pan, and typically I would use foil, but because of the video, I wanted to go ahead and use a clear one just so you could see it really well. And then I'm going to put some oil, and I only use either olive oil or avocado oil or something like that, so that way a little more on the healthy side these days. All I really want to do is get around the edges here. So I'm going to start in the corner and just spray across. Start in the corner, spray across, and then just a little bit in the bottom like that, and maybe just a touch on the bottom, but I'm not really too worried about that. I just don't want it sticking hard on the edges. That makes it really difficult to clean. I'm going to set this aside. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just start adding things in, and we don't have to over mix this, and I want to stress that. The main thing that we want to do is make sure that the macaroni gets completely covered. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go through the ingredients. If you want the list of ingredients, there'll be a link to the article below for smoked macaroni and cheese on my website. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the noodles. Now, normally I use regular size elbows or shells, but today I used extra large on the elbows just so you could see it better in the video. I'm going to pour that in first. That's the very first thing I put in, and I want to make sure it's all the way on the bottom and flat. That is a heaping cup full, so close to about 1.25 cups, or even a little bit more if you want. If you want to go just a little more and add just a couple drops more of liquid, that'll work out just great. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some of the regular ingredients. We're going to start with 2 tablespoons of butter, and I chopped them up into 8 little cubes. And I'll go ahead and just spread that around. Again, this is no mix, so we don't want to have to mix it. We just want to kind of throw this in there and let it melt as it cooks. Then we're going to add in some cheese. Now what we have here is 1.5 cups of cheese. Now this is a cheesy recipe, so if you want to go less, you can. I've got half mozzarella and half cheddar, but hey, something else that works really good is like half pepper jack, because that'll add a little bit of spicy flavor to it. Now I'm going to mix this as I add it, and I'm just going to sprinkle it around in here. Again, the main goal is to keep that macaroni on the bottom. Then the next thing that we're going to add is a teaspoon of pepper. Maybe the recipe calls for a little less than this, but I like a little bit more pepper in mine, and I even used pepper bacon. As long as it's not too much for my wife, that's perfect. So it's just under a teaspoon, and then a pinch of salt, which I added to that. Now, the pinch of salt is optional. I really like to go light on the salt because there's a lot of salt in the cheese and in the bacon. So you want to make sure you don't overdo it. Now, as far as the last ingredient is the milk, but we're going to hold off on that. This is a cup of milk, and I have some milk and some heavy cream in there to kind of give it a little bit of extra creaminess, but that's just because I'm always doing keto, so I always have that around. Now let's look at the optional items. First is the cream cheese. Now this is 4 ounces of cream cheese cut into 4 blocks, and I'm just going to put it in there. Again, we just want to let it melt down so it self-mixes. And then we've got some bacon, and we have some seasoning. Now this bacon is double smoked, so I double smoked it. I put it back in a smoker pan and added extra to it. And I'm going to try to put a link to that video right there. And I've used it before to make smoky salsa and stuff like that. And then in here, of course, you know, we got smoked paprika and then a little garlic. I wanted to add garlic today because I know that's one of my wife's favorite. I'm going to mix these two a little bit in here so that way the paprika gets to mix a little bit with the garlic. That'll help it distribute in the pan a little bit. And then I'm just going to sprinkle it in there. No piles, but no mixing. Just like that. And then I'll go ahead and sprinkle the bacon in there. And this is about 5 pieces of bacon because I ate one of them. Just like that. And now, get all this out of the way so that way you can see what's going to happen here. We're just going to take this and we're going to slowly pour it all around. Just trying not to make a big mess. Now the recipe calls for 1 cup of milk. I recommend if you're going to use 1 cup of milk that you use 3.8. I wouldn't really waste your time with 2%. Again, there was a little bit of cream in there, so you can see it's kind of sticking to the cup, and it was just measured a little over 1 cup because I knew that some of the cream would stick. Now that is ready to go in the smoker, and for right now, I'm just going to set it on the top because it'll be fine there since it's a glass dish. Now, normally I would use a foil pan and then you wouldn't have to worry about cleanup and you just throw the thing away when you're done. But again, I did that for your benefit. Now, I brought out a small spatula and it's a small straight edge spatula. So I'll be able to get in there when it's time for that mix and get it going like that. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to try to cook this on about 325 for around 2 hours. Now, the reason that I didn't want to put wood chips in the bottom, not only is that I could control the wood when I wanted that smoke in and out, but also because at 325, it gets really close to the ignite temperature. At 451, the wood chips will ignite. Well, 451 down there is closer to like 350 up here. So if the temperature goes over, those wood chips ignite, and then what you get is kind of a black, dirty smoke, and we don't want that in our food. We want a nice, clean, smooth burning smoke, more in the white consistency. When you're using an electric or a gas smoker, that's really what you're going to get. When you're using a stick burner, you'll probably get a little bit more of a blue, clear smoke, which is ideal when you're doing that. Now let's go ahead and check where we're at on the temperature. We're still a little under, so I think we'll go ahead and turn that up just a little bit. I'm going to move this out of the way. Now there's no reason that we can't go ahead and put this in ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Open that up and set that in here. And we'll just go ahead and we're going to let that roll. Now I'm going to watch this temperature, and this temperature gauge is not perfect, but it's good enough. Now I'm going to let that go for a second, and then I'm going to go grab that pellet tray and we'll add that to it after I get the temperature a little bit closer. I'll be right back. So I got this pellet tray going really well, and you can see the smoke is just pouring out of it. So we don't want to run the smoke too long, just long enough to infuse everything that's in there with a nice smoky flavor. I got the temperature on the smoker going up. Let's go ahead and get a little bit closer look at that. Right now, we're at about 275. Let's set this up here and see if you can get a little bit closer look at that. So this little picture from my phone will give you a really good idea. I decided that would be better than moving the camera around. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So we are still climbing. I'm going to give it just a little bit more. And then I'm going to go ahead and place this inside. I'm going to put that in there right in the middle so that way that smoke gets completely diffused by that tin foil. Close that up and we're going to let it run. So this will run for an hour, and then after the hour I'm going to take and stir it up, and then we'll run it for another hour, and that should be perfect. 2 hours for no boil macaroni and cheese, and the target temperature again 325. So I'll see you in a couple of seconds, but for me that'll be 1 hour. So it's been just about an hour, and I just went ahead and backed the temperature down a little bit. I think I have it a little too high for this recipe. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. I'm going to take a look at it. I did check on it once, but I did not stir it ahead of time. So I'm going to grab this and bring it up there and show it to you. I'm wearing my Weber grill gloves, and you can see that it's all melted in there. So now it's a perfect time to stir it up. When you do stir it, try not to smash the macaroni. It should be just about cooked by now and should start to come together and really turn into that macaroni and cheese kind of consistency. After this, we really want to stir it soft. Otherwise, we'll just smash them really good. See, the smoke is still coming out of that pellet tray. Get it stirred up, spread it out a little bit. We come back and check that in about 15 minutes. So I just pushed it right back in the middle. And then we'll pull out that pellet tray to let it finish up. Now, if you want, you can do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to sample this, and then I'm going to take this inside the house and wash it. That's cheesy goodness right there. So total, it's been about an hour and 45 minutes, and I think we're done. About 15 minutes ago, I did take that pellet tray out, and we had what looked like to me to be plenty of smoke. And I could tell when I sampled the cheese how close we were by tasting the cheese that was left on that spatula. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this out. The nice thing is that since we didn't cook any food directly on the grill or on the grill mat, I can go ahead and shut this down right now. So first I'm going to close the tank. I always do that because I don't want any propane in the hose. And then I'll turn that off. It only takes a second and boom, it's gone. All right, and you can see here that is bubbling. I'm going to go ahead and give it one final stir. That last stir, I just kind of almost did a toss. And that is the consistency that we're looking for. That is what we want. Look at that. That's macaroni and cheese all day long. Now, of course, if you want yours wetter, you could add more milk, and you could even add the milk right now and it would still be fine. I'm going to go ahead, and I was going to serve it up on the plate, but I think I'm just going to use the plate to rest the spoon. I'm going to get a nice bite right here in the middle. First, I'm just going to get some of the macaroni without bacon. I definitely pulled that pellet smoke tray at the exact right time. I don't like to overwhelm my wife with smoke. She's not as big a fan of the smoke as I am, but I'll tell you what, that has smoky taste, but it's not going to give you that overwhelming to where you get that little tingling on your tongue. That is perfect. Now I'm going to get a little bite here, and I can tell you right now that most people this would be really too hot for. For me, it's right on the edge. That bacon and the macaroni and cheese together is spot on perfect. This is going to make a great dinner. I'm going to add a little bit of broccoli as a side dish, and this will be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and show this to you close up one more time before we go. Take a look at that. So that is in the Masterbuilt MPS 230S Propane Smoker. And if you saw anything you like here, remember, there's affiliate links below. I will get compensated for those, but they won't cost you anything extra. Also, there's the article directly below for the macaroni and cheese, which includes all the measurements for the recipe and a little bit longer cook time in the actual recipe than what we did today. We ran the temperature up a little higher than the recipe. Also, you will find the review for this smoker, which I think is an excellent smoker. And next week, we're gonna do 10 questions answered about this smoker that are just common questions that we found on different social media sites. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.